My name is Amelia Hart, 31 years old, and for the past 3 years, I thought I was building a future with the man I loved. We lived in my apartment, technically mine, emotionally ours, or so I believed. Lately, something had been wrong. Not loudly wrong, quietly wrong, like a scent of smoke you can't find the source of. Ryan's moods shifted unpredictably. Some nights he was overly sweet, too sweet. Other nights he turned his phone upside down on the table and angled the screen away when messages came in. Once, when his phone lit up, I swear I saw the name Lena flash across it. I didn't say anything, not at first. The truth doesn't need confrontation. It reveals itself when it's ready. And it did. The night everything broke. It was a Thursday evening. He'd just showered. He always showered after coming home late now, and he smelled like a perfume I didn't own. I waited until he walked into the kitchen, towel around his shoulders, scrolling his phone with a half-hidden smile. "Ryan?" I asked softly. He froze. The smile evaporated. I knew. He knew I knew. We both stood there in the heavy silence of mutual awareness. "Is there someone else?" I asked. No screaming, no shaking voice, just the quiet question a woman asks when she already knows the answer. Ryan didn't deny, not even a token attempt. He just sighed, put his phone down, and said the sentence that would change everything. "I'm not sure I want to be tied down right now. I need you to prove you're better than my other options." I blinked. "Your other options?" I repeated slowly. He nodded, as if discussing something logical. "I'm not saying break up. I'm just evaluating, comparing. I've told Lena I'm thinking about things. She knows she's in the running. I just need to see who fits better long term." I stared at him, not because I was shocked, but because I was studying him the way you study a stranger. His eyes didn't hold guilt, or confusion, or even conflict. They held entitlement. He truly believed he was the one being reasonable. "So," he continued casually, "if you want to stay together, I need you to show me why choosing you is the better option. That's fair, right?" Fair. Something inside me went silent. Not broken, not enraged, just quiet, like a switch had been flipped. I nodded once. "A fair request." His eyebrows rose, surprised at my calmness. "Really?" "Of course," I smiled. "If you're evaluating options, then so am I." He laughed, relieved, unaware. I was done with him the moment he opened his mouth. But he didn't deserve a dramatic exit. He deserved clarity he could choke on later. The message. He left that night to clear his head and think things through at a coworker's place. The moment the door clicked shut, I sat at my dining table, unlocked my phone, and typed, "Hi, Lena. Since we're both options, Ryan is evaluating. I thought we could coordinate. Do you want to go halves on a storage unit for his stuff? No point leaving it in my apartment now that he's weighing his choices." I added a heart emoji. Just one, for flavor. I hit send. Her reply came 5 minutes later. "Are you serious?" I smiled. "Very. Pick a size and let me know your share." No answer came after that, but the message was enough. My hands were steady as I grabbed a stack of cardboard boxes, packing his life away. There is a kind of peace that comes after betrayal. Not forgiveness, not acceptance. Clarity. I boxed his clothes, shoes, books, electronics. I left out nothing sentimental because nothing he left behind was sentimental. Everything went into boxes except the espresso machine I bought. That stayed. When you remove a man from a home, you start noticing how little he contributed. The apartment looked bigger as I packed. Cleaner. Mine again. At midnight, I took a break to drink water and check my phone. Still no reply from Lena. Even better. I requested a storage unit online. Earliest access, 9 a.m. Perfect. I slept soundly. A morning without him. The next morning, I woke up feeling lighter than I had in months. I made coffee, ate breakfast, loaded boxes into my car. There's something strangely empowering about carrying the weight of someone who once weighed you down emotionally. It took 2 trips to move everything. By noon, Ryan's entire existence was neatly placed inside a cold metal storage unit. I locked it, stared at the key, and then I laughed. Because the plan was already fully formed the moment Ryan said the words, "Prove you're better." He wanted a competition. He was getting a delivery. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed. "Ryan." I let it ring. Then ring again. Then again. The 3rd time I answered. "Hey," he said, trying to sound upbeat. "So, did you think more about what we talked about?" "I did," I replied, "and I think evaluation is a great idea." He chuckled. "See, I knew you'd be reasonable. I'm coming home in an hour. We can talk properly." "Sure." I ended the call. Then I called a locksmith. The locks change. The locksmith finished the new locks 20 minutes before Ryan arrived. Right on schedule. He tried the old key. It didn't work. He banged on the door. Amelia, what the hell? I opened it just enough to block his entry with my body. His eyes widened when he saw the empty apartment behind me. No, what did you do? Exactly what you asked, I said calmly. I removed myself from the competition. He stepped forward. I didn't move. Where are my things? In storage. Where's the key? I smiled. I mailed it to Lena. She can decide if you're worth the trouble. His face twisted. Why would you, Amelia, this is insane. No, I said softly. It's fair. The same word he used on me. Ryan was trembling. Anger, shock, helplessness mixing into something almost pitiful. Almost. You can't kick me out of my own home. Your name isn't on the lease, I said. You were an option, not a co-owner. He swore under his breath. Give me the address. I handed him a paper slip. Just the address, not the unit number. You can ask Lena for the rest, I said. He stared at me for a long time, speechless, before turning and stomping down the hall. I closed the door, locked it, deadbolted it, then exhaled. 2 minutes later, he started calling again. I put my phone on silent, sat on the couch, and finally felt the apartment return to peace. I watched from the living room window as Ryan stomped down the street, fists clenched, face red, jaw tight. Somewhere in that mix of anger and disbelief, I saw the man I thought I knew vanish. The boyfriend I loved, the one who had laughed with me over cheap wine on the couch, the one who had whispered, I love you, while we fell asleep together, was gone. In his place stood someone entitled, untested, unmoored from any real consequence. I took a deep breath and went back to work. Packing had been methodical. Everything labeled, everything organized, everything predictable. A normal woman in a normal apartment performing a simple, logical task, removing an option from her life. The day he returned. It was 2 days later when the inevitable happened. He came back. I had spent the morning arranging boxes in neat rows. The storage unit was rented, the lock scheduled, the key ready to mail. I was folding my clothes when I heard it, the unmistakable scraping of a doorknob. He had arrived early, predictably impatient. I walked to the door, opened it slightly, and there he was. Ryan, suitcase in hand, face flushed with frustration and disbelief. Amelia, he started, voice sharp. What did you do to the locks? I smiled politely. Change them. What's the problem? The problem? He repeated, incredulous. The problem is, you can't do this to me. My stuff, my apartment. Your stuff? I echoed, stepping fully into the doorway. This is my apartment. You were an option. I've moved your belongings to a storage unit. The key was mailed to Lena. I watched his face go blank, then twitch, then contort. No, you're insane. You can't, Amelia, open up. You're being psychotic. I shook my head slowly. I'm not. You asked me to compete. I declined. Your evaluation period is over. You're disqualified. He stared, a mixture of fury and panic lighting his eyes. I can't believe this. This is insane. You're insane. No, I said, calm as a stone. This is logistics. He tried to shove past me. I didn't move. My hand on the doorframe, steady, unyielding, unwavering. The father arrives. That evening, the drama escalated. A car pulled up. A big, black SUV. A man in a polo shirt, expensive, perfectly pressed, posture rigid with authority, stepped out. Ryan's father. Amelia Hart? He barked. Ryan tells me you've illegally evicted him and are holding his property hostage. This is unacceptable. I looked him in the eye, calm, even. I'm afraid you're mistaken. Ryan is not a tenant. He is not on the lease. He was a guest. He was asked to leave. His belongings are secure in a storage unit I rented. First month paid in full. He stepped closer, voice lowering into threat. You don't understand the consequences. I can call building inspectors, file complaints, involve the city. You'll regret this. I shrugged. Please do. Everything here is up to code, inspected 6 months ago. My landlord is informed. You can file all the anonymous complaints you like. His jaw tightened. He looked like he wanted to explode. I sipped my tea. I am not responsible for his access, I said evenly. He can go to the storage unit and retrieve his things. The second key is with Lena, as I understand it. He sputtered, red-faced, flailing, outraged. Ryan tried to intervene. Dad, Amelia, don't, this is ridiculous. I ignored him. I had to remove myself entirely from the emotional chaos. I was no longer a participant. They left. The threats, the bluster, the posturing. They left nothing in their wake but the echo of their own entitlement. Civil reality sets in. Later that week, the police arrived. 2 officers, professional and calm, came to the door. "Miss Hart?" "Yes." "We're here on a civil standby. Ryan claims you're holding his property hostage." I handed over the storage unit paperwork. "They have full access. I am not withholding anything. This is a civil matter, not criminal." The officers examined my documents, glanced at the apartment, nodded. "You're right. Nothing criminal here. Ryan will have to use the key he's been given." Ryan's father shook with fury on the curb outside. Ryan himself looked utterly defeated. I simply closed the door and returned to my sofa. Peace settled over the apartment like a tangible weight. The psychological game. Amelia Hart was no hero. I wasn't doing this for revenge. I wasn't doing this for attention. I was doing it for clarity, for boundaries, for the recognition that no one, not even the man you loved, should treat you as a contestant in their selfish games. I poured myself a second cup of tea and allowed a small smile to curl across my lips. Ryan's panic, the father's threats, the supposed checkmate moves of entitlement, all of it was meaningless when met with methodical calm. Lena would handle the second key. I had done my part. Internal monologue. I thought about the irony. For 3 years I had invested time, trust, and love, and yet a single question, asking me to compete, revealed everything. It wasn't betrayal. It wasn't deception. It was a mirror. The person I loved was not worthy of the love I gave. And in that reflection, I found my peace. I could have screamed, I could have cried, I could have begged him to stay. Instead, I acted. Cold, rational, complete. The apartment was quiet, empty, and perfectly mine. The week after Ryan and his father stormed off, the apartment was quiet. Almost too quiet. I had unpacked, reorganized, and for the first time in months, truly felt the weight of the space around me. It was mine again, clean, calm, and free. But peace is a fragile thing. Entitlement does not vanish quietly. Anonymous complaints. The first hint came Monday morning, a voicemail from my landlord, Jim. "Amelia, I don't even know where to start. Someone filed complaints against the building, plumbing, electrical, balcony concerns, the works. What the hell did you do?" I smiled. I could hear Ryan's father's voice in the echo of those complaints. A familiar pattern. Threaten, escalate, panic. "Jim," I said evenly, "everything here is up to code. I'm aware of the complaints. They're anonymous. I believe someone is trying to manufacture a crisis where none exists." Jim grunted, clearly frustrated but willing to listen. "I don't care who. You fix it." "I don't need to fix it," I replied. "An inspector will arrive. You'll see the building is safe and fully compliant." Thursday morning, the inspector came. A grumpy man in his 50s, clipboard in hand, eyes sharp, scanning everything as if he'd seen it all before. "All right," he muttered, checking the balcony first. "Concrete, solid, electrical panel, perfect. Water pressure and plumbing, fine." He scribbled notes and shook his head. "You're clean," he said. "These complaints? Vexatious. Probably someone with a grudge." I nodded. "Exactly what I thought." He looked at me, clearly exhausted. I handed him the paperwork and stepped aside. "Thank you, sir." The inspection was a masterclass in calm versus chaos. Every threat Ryan's father had made unraveled in the presence of reality. All the posturing and aggression boiled down to nothing. A few days later, the next escalation arrived. 2 police officers knocked on my door. They were calm, professional, unlike Ryan or his father. "Miss Hart, we are here on a civil standby," one said. "Ryan claims you're refusing him access to his belongings." I handed over the storage unit rental agreement. "Everything he owns is in storage," I explained. "He has access. He simply has to use the key I mailed to Lena." They examined the documents, then glanced at me. "Yes," the taller officer said. "This is a civil matter. We cannot compel you to provide access. The property is secured, and the key is in the rightful person's possession." Ryan's face went pale. He had come expecting confrontation, intimidation, perhaps drama to manipulate me into surrendering. Instead, he found the officers neutral, disinterested, and clearly unconcerned. "You see," I said softly, "everything has been handled according to law. There is no theft, no illegal action, only procedure." Ryan's father fumed on the curb. Ryan muttered something incoherent. I closed the door. Throughout the chaos, I stayed calm. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about control. Ryan had wanted options. I gave him a fair process, but on my terms. Every box in that storage unit, every locked door, every document carefully signed and filed was proof that I didn't need emotional theatrics. I needed methodical logic. And when you act with logic instead of rage, the entitled flounder. I poured a cup of tea, sat on the couch, and let the silence wrap around me. No yelling, no threats, just peace. 3 years of my life had been invested in a man who believed he could treat me as a contestant in a game. But life isn't a game. Love isn't a competition. And integrity, real, calm, methodical integrity, is stronger than threats, entitlement, or chaos. I thought about the absurdity. Ryan's father had threatened city inspections and complaints, police visits, and public humiliation. All of it collapsed under the weight of paperwork, calm reasoning, and legality. And yet the irony delighted me. All of his bluster had one inevitable outcome: self-exposure. Every threat he made, every attempt to manipulate, only reinforced the truth I had already embraced. I was free. It had been 3 weeks since Ryan's options game began. 3 weeks since he had demanded that I prove myself as if love were a marketplace. 3 weeks since I had methodically, coldly, and efficiently removed him from my home and life. Now everything was quiet, almost suspiciously so. The unexpected message. Then a message arrived from an unknown number. Amelia, last time I mailed the key to Ryan. He refused it. Certified mail. Returned. You now have full control. Lena. Of course. She had been a wild card from the start, a loose end in Ryan's carefully crafted web. I smiled, the first real grin in days. The key was back in my hands, and with it, total closure. Ryan's attempts to regain control, to manipulate, to escalate, they had all collapsed. He had no access, no leverage, no options. That afternoon, I drove to the storage facility. The sky was gray, the air crisp. I felt a rare sense of ceremony in every step I took. I unlocked the storage unit, removed a single item, the massive, obnoxious neon sign he had insisted was the center of his life. The good life, a grotesque, glowing pink monstrosity. I carried it carefully back to my apartment, placing it against the wall. It glowed softly, bathing the room in tacky pink light, but it also felt symbolic. A trophy of logic over entitlement, a monument to calm over chaos. The rest of his belongings? I left them. Unclaimed, untouched, legally abandoned by both him and Lena. The storage company would auction them off, and that was fine. Let the universe decide what to do with his past. As if the story wasn't complete without one final escalation, Ryan's father called me. Amelia Hart, he barked, voice dripping with venom. This is your last warning. I will report you to the IRS, the city, anything necessary. You've humiliated my family. I listened politely. Then I smiled. Go ahead, I said. All your threats have already been tested. Everything here is legal, safe, and documented. The storage unit is secure, the apartment is compliant, and the law supports my actions. You are welcome to file your complaints, but they will fail. There was silence on the line, then a begrudging click as he hung up. No more calls, no more threats, no more attempts at control. Police, reality, and civil lessons. The police never returned. They had seen the civil nature of the dispute and clearly decided there was nothing criminal. Ryan remained furious and helpless. His father disappeared into the chaos of his own ego. And Lena? She wisely stayed out of further conflict, leaving the storage unit key in my control. The chessboard was cleared, all pieces accounted for. I sat on my couch, the pink glow of the neon sign washing over my face. I thought about the irony of it all. For 3 years, I had poured love, time, and energy into a man who viewed me as an option. He had believed that comparison, evaluation, and competition were the measures of love. But it had taken only calm, logic, and methodical action to dismantle the entire structure he built. I wasn't a hero. I wasn't dramatic. I was meticulous. And it had worked. Amelia Hart, age 31, not broken, not bitter, just fully awake to reality. I realized then that betrayal isn't always violent. Sometimes it's quiet, mundane, wrapped in the words, prove yourself. The right response isn't to scream or cry or beg, it's to act. Methodically, rationally, without emotion clouding the process. 3 weeks, 4 keys, a storage unit, 2 police visits, multiple threats, and the eventual surrender of control. That was enough. Ryan, his father, and his entitled sense of options were all finally neutralized. I turned off the neon sign. The apartment was quiet. The air smelled faintly of coffee, paper, and new beginnings. I sat back on the couch, looking around the empty living space. 3 years of my life, reduced to a single calm conclusion. The space was mine again. The chaos was gone. The drama had evaporated. And for the first time in months, I felt free. I had spent $480 total, locksmith, storage unit, auction fees, to be free of the chaos. A small price to pay. No more calls, no more threats, no more options, no more evaluation. Just quiet, clean, mine. I poured myself a cup of tea, staring out the window at the city below. I had learned something important. Boundaries matter. Clarity matters. And the person who tests your worth on a marketplace of options is not worth your chaos, your tears, or your time. The game was over. I had won, not by shouting, not by anger, but by methodical calm. I smiled, the quiet, confident smile of someone who had reclaimed her life. No longer an option, no longer a participant in a contest, just free.